Hello and welcome to the first season of Talk Sustainability with Sandeep. I'm your host Sandeep Raghuvanshi, and over the course of this podcast series, we will deep dive into corporate sustainability from an Indian context and investigate more through our conversations with multiple relevant stakeholders. As you can imagine, an enormous amount of food is wasted at restaurants all across India every single day. It is easy to point fingers at them as being irresponsible in managing their waste. But restaurants deal with several practical challenges in how to handle this waste. The collection system is erratic, and most standalone restaurants do not have the luxury to have separate temperature controlled rooms to control the decay of discarded food until it is picked up. Today, I have with me Chef Amay Marathe, who experienced these issues firsthand and decided to do something about it. He brings the benefit of the insider's knowledge and is building a business managing the waste of bulk kitchens. So, thank you, MA, very much for joining into this podcast. Let's dive straight in. Could you give a quick background of what exactly do you do and how did you get started with what you're doing right now?
So this started around 6 years back in 2014, when that time I used to be in Pune, and I used to work for a company called In Venue Hospitality, and we used to run around 18 bakery shops and 5 restaurants. And I would see in my central kitchen a waste generation of say around 500 600 kilos per day. And every morning when I would come into the kitchen, I would see the garbage truck standing out and taking the garbage. And for chefs, it is very painful to see the food getting into the bin. Now that happens in three stages. Once it happens at the pre-preparation stages, where there can be peels or there can be different stuff which is not used before going into the food. Second wastage happens at the time of storage. So every product has a shelf life, whether it is raw or cooked. And as per the food safety laws, you cannot keep food which is processed above a certain timeline. So anything which is perishable has to be thrown within a day, and anything which is cooked can be maximum kept for 3 days. And after that, if it is not sold, it has to get into the garbage bin. And the third part, which is maybe the largest, is which comes back from the tables most of the time. So people take a lot of food, or they order a lot of food, and then they don't finish and then just throw. And it's very painful for a chef to see that, because we put a lot of hard work, sweat, and we put a lot of passion behind everything we do. And since then I wanted to do something with this food waste. And the first idea which came to my mind is what can be done. And either you put a composting machine, or you take it and make it a compost. But then after that, somehow I did not take that up seriously. And in 2016 I moved to Hyderabad. When I moved to Hyderabad, I started working with a chain here as a corporate chef, and we used to run 27 large scale restaurants in the city, and the wastage would be around 2 tons plus. And by the
Per day.
time,
Per day.
per day per day
Hmm.
per day across the company. And then in meantime, we've been hearing about climate change, global warming, and multiple things which are happening around. And one of the major reason of climate change or global warming is the greenhouse gases. And in those greenhouse gases, one of the biggest contributor is methane, because of its properties of being stronger than carbon dioxide 25 times, and with the shelf life of 12 years. And that is where, when I started reading and researching about this, I came to know that food waste which gets into the landfills, because most of our cities have does not have good waste processing processes in place. And most of it, even if it get collected, it falls in the landfill, and then it keeps emitting methane for next 12 years. So I said, what can be done with this? And that is where I started working on the project. And apart from this, the other challenges I faced as a chef is, apart from a 4 star or a 5 star hotel, where you need to have a temperature controlled garbage room in order to get your certification, most of the small time restaurants do not have any facility to keep this garbage under temperature control. Most of the time it will be in an outside area, into a big dumpster. And the collection is very erratic, especially from
Correct.
the so-called government bodies. I would not like to name them, but then sometimes it's collected daily, sometimes it does not get collected in couple of days, and then it keeps emitting stink. And restaurants, due to the high real estate cost, they cannot make provision for either a temperature control room or any other provision where it can be kept safe. So there are one challenge of storage, second challenge of food safety, because these areas where this is kept are in close proximity of the food production areas, which are kitchens. And in case of outbreak, and like in what we're seeing right now also with COVID, it's an outbreak of a virus. And foodborne illnesses is something which can happen in a kitchen, due to various bacteria present. Like raw chicken has E. coli and salmonella, which are like health-wise extremely hazardous. And that is why I really got passionate that I really need to do something with this. And then I started researching, and I found out that this can be put through a process of anaerobic digestion, very similar to the traditional biogas. And maybe we can harness the gas, purify it. At the same time, the manure can be sold to farmers, and the gas can be pressurized and sold to restaurants back. So this is how I started working on this project.
So, just a couple of things to understand a little better, right? So you talked about 2 tons of wastage per day from 27 large scale kitchens, you said, right? So
Right.
what percentage of, by let's say by weight, because by value it will be a little difficult, what percentage by weight would waste reflect of the total inputs?
It See, this waste is, like I said, it's comprising of three components: pre-preparation, storage, shelf life, and coming back from table. So most of the large cases restaurant where it is buffets, a lot of food which comes back. So it can be anywhere between 10 to 15%, at times even higher, up to 20-25% of the input weight.
So that's quite significant value right there, right? Which is kind of getting
Right.
lost even from the restaurant's account. Now,
Right. So even
how?
if we only look at what goes in pre-preparation or shelf life, that is very small quantity. That is sometime between 2 to 3%. So
Okay.
the major component is what comes back from the table.
And which is already sold by the restaurant. So in a way,
Correct. And
it
then
doesn't
you
necessarily
can't
harm.
reuse that.
Yeah.
Correct. You can't reuse it.
You can't reuse it, but also at the same time, it also sort of, it'll be part of the sales strategy also, right? Because
Correct.
you want to have an extensive menu. You probably want to have larger portion sizes, which could be a way to also maximize your sales, but also could be a source of generation of the waste, and two cannot be decoupled easily, right?
Right. Right.
Now, of course, not all of these, as you said, right? So what the peels and other things will have a different kind of a processing that you can do, and what is the cooked food with, let's say, gravies and others, which will have a certain kind of processing that can be done. Now, the waste, when it will be generated, I presume it will all be mixed, right? So that probably
Yeah,
would.
it is all mixed.
So would that also create some kind of, let's say, additional issues in terms of what processing can be done later on from AD also?
So in that matter, it only affects if its acidic value is higher than 20%. And what we have done is, like I said, if it is put through a traditional AD process, it will not work out,
Hmm.
because traditional AD process does not have a specialized consortium of bacteria to digest any kind of food. And that is where we came in picture. So we have a specially developed consortium, and where we can digest any kind of food.
Okay. Now, so once we understand the sources, as you rightly said, right? Because you may have certain kitchens which may have some storage area, but the collection is the critical point over here. Because unless until you have very good visibility on the collection, you may not necessarily want to. You may not just have the ability to store that garbage for longer, right? So you need to find a way to dump
Right.
it anyway. So how
Correct.
how did you deal with this situation? Because if we are talking about a very distributed sources from where this waste can come in, then from your logistics, how exactly did you manage the logistics part of it?
So, what we generally do, and what we also intend to do as we grow in the future, and which is also going to be a great help to the restaurant. What happens right now, the operation gets closed at around 11:30, 12 o'clock in the night. I'm talking about pre-COVID era.
Hmm.
And then, the collection would happen only next day around noon. Now, what we do is generally we try and collect this in the night itself, as soon as the kitchen closes. So the restaurant is easy because they don't have to keep anything in their premise. They can actually clean the kitchen entirely and be ready to open. And we in turn save a lot on fuel because in the night there is no traffic. So our vehicles go around across the locations, collect this, and then come back to the plant. So we save on fuel. We also save nuisance to the civilians, because otherwise, if you see the normal trucks, they would generally go around in the daytime, and some garbage keeps falling on the roads, and a lot of time there is so much of stink that you can't bear. So we also have taken care of the issue where public is not affected by this, because sometimes this food waste can stink really really bad.
And for the
And
collection, you have some kind of a tipping fee arrangement with, and so let's say a certain contract for the collection on a daily basis from these restaurants.
so restaurants pay actually.
Hmm.
So
So
even before this, every restaurant would generally pay 10-12,000 to the government agency or the private agency who takes this. So we take any. So we don't have a specified charge. We just say that whatever the restaurant wants to pay us, we are fine with it.
that's very
We only
interesting. So I
we
would want to
only look
understand
at
that
that
little.
at least our logistics cost is recovered in terms of fuel expenses. We don't want to make money from our fellow hoteliers. That is the principle we work on.
So that is very interesting because a lot of waste management firms, they primarily talk about two sources of revenues that makes their business sustainable. One is the tipping
Right,
fee, the fee that they will charge for collecting the
right,
garbage from the sources, and second would be from
right.
the revenues that they can earn from the products that they will make out from the waste,
Correct,
using waste as a resource. So for
correct.
you to totally, let's say, not bank on any income to come from upstream, right, that
Right,
that that means that your processes and your products have to have a value which is reasonably superior to be able to sustain the operations by themselves.
right, right.
So could you shed a little bit more light on that aspect now? So let's say the
So we
products
are
that you manufacture out of that.
still in a journey. It is not completely up in terms of a commercial setup. So what happens once we have the gas and it is pressurized, it can be sold as equivalent to LPG to the restaurant. And the current LPG rates for commercial gas is around 73 rupees per kilo, and our gas will be cheaper to the restaurants at 55 rupees per kilo. And also what happens is the manure which gets generated out of this process, this is being sold to farmers for 5 rupees per kilo. And since we are incubated in Agri-Biotech Foundation in Hyderabad, through them we have access to a lot of these farmer cohorts around Hyderabad. So whatever small generation we have right now, we sell this to the farmers. And currently the gas is not pressurized in cylinders. So currently we have a canteen in the same premise for students, where 400 students have their breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So right now the gas is being used there for their production of entire 400 people's breakfast.
Okay, so I think these are the two important points, right? Because so one, what I understand is that you're talking about a central processing. You are not doing any processing on site or distributed processing within the city. So you're bringing everything in
Yeah,
one place where you're doing the
correct,
generation.
correct.
Okay.
And that is how only it will make commercial sense as we grow.
Okay, that is for sure. But in fact, that also adds to certain amount of logistics challenges as you try to grow the scale, right?
Right, right.
Now
Yes,
the
and we are
manure.
hoping to get good support from the local government, because they seem to be little dynamic and active. So we've been in touch with Telangana government, and we've seen some encouraging thoughts and helps coming up. So we're just hoping for the best.
So just to understand on this part, right? So if you do collection from only one type of waste, let's say from the restaurants, right? You have
Right,
a certain uniformity of your feedstock on which you can put a certain process of your AD, and you can have, let's say, a certain consistency of the output that you will generate out of it, both in terms of time and the
right,
output quality,
right,
right? Because if you have different sources to provide you the feedstock, let's say municipality, you may have a
right.
bit of uncertainty in terms of what kind of feedstock you will be
Absolutely,
getting, and
absolutely.
would that increase the challenge of what kind of treatment you would need to do for that feedstock to generate the output that you're looking for?
We have not at all focused on any other feedstock apart from hotels and restaurants, because that is the area where it was my pain point, and I
Hmm.
exactly understand what is the kind of feed I'm going to get. So we have not looked at any other waste till now. We only focused completely on the food waste which is generated by hospitality sector,
Okay.
and that gives me around 10 to 12% of gas out of my process, which is pretty encouraging.
And the manure that you get, it's a liquid manure or it's a
It's a
solid
liquid
manure?
manure. It's a liquid manure.
It's a liquid manure. So you bottle them and you give them to the
No,
farmers.
so we dry it up in the fields, and then we sell it semi-solid.
You sell semi-solid. Okay. So from the sales channels, because as you plan to grow, let's say the scale of the operations that you have, you of course need to
Right,
be able to deliver these products, because this is one of the primary challenges of any, let's say any biogas plant says, right? That you need to have utilization of your products. Otherwise, the
right.
land requirements and other things that you will have will also start to spiral very quickly. So you need to be
Correct,
able to
correct.
move them out of your premises as soon as possible. So how do you
Right.
plan to do that aspect as you go forward? So both from the
So,
gas as well as for the manure.
so for gas, I have already have not a contract on paper, but contract orally done with 8 to 10 restaurants in the city. So I also happen to be the vice president of Telangana Chefs Association, and through the network, it is actually a win-win for both for us and for the restaurants, because their waste is getting collected in time. They don't have to deal with any nuisance. At the same time, they are getting cooking gas at a cheaper rate without doing any change in infrastructure. And to give you a statistical example, a restaurant which can sit 100 people, or which can catering to 100 people per day, they spend around 12.5 lakhs per year on gas expense, LPG expense. And with our Agnes, we call our gas Agnes, as and when we get into full-time pressurized production, it will give them saving of around 2.3 lakhs per annum. So that's a great saving for a restaurant in terms of their bottom lines. So through the network, it is for gas. There is absolutely no problem. There is huge demand
Hmm.
already generated. For the manure, I will have to work with the Agri Biotech Foundation, or with the startups, where a lot of these agri startups are coming up. We are also in touch with a startup called The Heart, which is in very active in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. The founders happen to be my schoolmates, actually, 1 year junior. So they have also shown interest in this fertilizer manure. If we can give them in a dried powdered form, so that is what we will be working on soon.
But if you were to do it in a dried powdered form, that would probably require a reasonable amount of land, because trying to do any heat treatment might be quite expensive from the energy perspective, right?
Right. So that's a future plan or a thought right now, which we have not taken up till now in full scale. So we're still thinking how to do it cost effectively.
Understood. So I think this is very interesting, because this probably is the best possible use that can be done for the food once it has turned into waste, right? So to be
Right.
able to generate the gas, and also the quality of the manure that comes out of that, because of the better CN ratio, that is of a higher quality. So both
Correct. We have
that would be,
actually done some plant testing. So
yeah.
we've done testing with tomato plants. We've done testing with capsicum, and we've seen 25% faster growth in plants using our manure, because extremely rich.
So, if from your experience now, since you have been doing this for quite some time, right, both as a source and looking at various options, probably in terms of what can be done with that waste. So, if we just kind of look into the various options that are available with a restaurant, now one option on the food which is not yet served, so not the one that is returning out of the plates, right, which probably from the buffets, which might in fact take a bit of a hit in the post-COVID world now. uh,
Right.
how viable it is an option for a restaurant to try to engage with some food rescue organizations who could find alternative consumption of that food before it goes bad? How viable that option is, and what are the challenges there?
So I think it's a very, very viable option. The only challenge, what I see from the angle of food safety. So as per food safety laws, any kind of food which is being in buffet, whether hot or cold, for more than 2.5 hours, is generally deemed unfit for human consumption if the temperature is below 65 degrees. And now, especially with buffets, what happens, because it is a continuous flow, a lot of times the lids are open, even if the heating from down is going pretty good. Since the lids are either frequently opened or kept opened, your food half on top will not be as hot, and food which is towards the bottom of the food pan will be hot, and that is somehow little unsafe for consumption. So I had this proposal before also. So what, unless and until it is not, we are not extremely sure about the safety of the food, I would not advise to do that. But items like, say, rice or dal or maybe some salads, this is definitely can be given. Specifically, the gravies, the Indian gravies, they tend to get bad very very soon in terms of their quality going down. So that is where someone has to be little careful. Otherwise, if all that has been taken care, all food temperatures have been recorded and kept well, I think it's the best thing to do, because rather than throwing in the bin, if it is going in someone's tummy who is in need, I think nothing more noble than that. So definitely viable, and the party who's going to pick up also has to take care of the logistics in a way where hot food is transported hot and cold food is transported cold. If these parameters are taken care, I think it is good thing to do.
Okay, so and also, but from what we discussed, right? So this is only a small portion of the food we are talking about, because
Right,
in a typical restaurant where it is, let's say, it is served on tables, the bulk of the
right,
food wastage is happening after the sale from the customer plates, which is not in a hygienic
correct,
condition to be eaten by anyone. So it
right,
essentially has to go into some kind of processing, which will be
right,
either a biogas or compost. Now,
right,
we have not seen a huge success of, let's say, biogas, in at least in the backyards, right, in many of the
right,
cities in India. And even
right,
on the centralized ones, if you look at the OECD countries, the European countries, there this has been a stable technology. This has been working very well for many years now.
right,
Somehow we
right,
have had a lot of challenges in India to get this to operationalize this
right.
and to settle the economics of it. What are your knowledge, because you have been doing this for so long, what are the reasons this has not really worked in India, and what is different that you are doing that will make it work in India?
One thing is awareness. I think we are still coming in terms with effects of pollution. We are still coming in terms with effects of global warming and climate change as a country. And I definitely feel there is a lack of awareness of what can we do. And we've done some initial study on this, and the numbers are really really, when we look at the numbers, you see so much which can be done. So country, our country India generates waste which is 67,000 million metric tons per day, and which is growing at around 8 to 10% per year. It is valued at 92,000 crores Indian rupees per annum, and the waste quantity can feed the entire country of Australia for a year, and that's a lot. I think it's sheer lack of awareness towards this sector in the country, which is led to, say, not being successful in this area. The projects which have
No,
been
but
taken till now.
one thing is to say that this much of waste is generated, right? But as we were discussing, in a restaurant, some of the waste generation is because of the part of the process, right? So your sales
Right,
strategy of a restaurant, your sales strategy of a grocery to keep your shelves fully stocked, is the also the primary reason why waste will happen. So it is somewhere, it is difficult to argue that a business should try to cut down on their sales so that they can cut down on the waste, which essentially is not a KPI on which they are incentivized, because the primary incentive for most of the businesses is to maximize their sales. What I'm trying to understand over here is that, given the scenario where you have a waste which is there, the biogas as a alternative hasn't really worked very well in India so far. So what are the primary reasons for that, according to you, apart from the awareness of the waste generation itself?
apart from awareness, it is also, our government has not been active in this area. There is not a lot of support which is being given in this sector. It has been till now more or so confined to small biogas plants, either with farmers or in institutions. But people have really not looked at waste as a renewable energy source, and I think that is picking up now.
Hmm.
So I think it's the right time as a country get serious about these things. And last year only I read that government also plans to now build around 5,500 biogas plants across and the cities to treat sewage, because that is another rich source of methane. So I think even the government and the policies of our government are now uh, coming in to that level where they are now talking about these things, which was not the case say 5 years or 10 years back. Until now, also we don't get the kind of support startups like us we look for.
So one is the lack of, let's say, regulatory support, which is required to support the economics of this business, right? Because this is not a very
Right.
lucrative business by itself, and there are so many other factors that get involved in this whole process. So you need to
Right.
have a certain amount of support that comes in, so that there can be an additional incentive. Right now, as
Right.
you talked about, right, even getting a garbage, unlike an economics that will work in certain countries where the amount of money that one can earn just to collect the garbage is a reasonable amount, which is not the case over
Right.
here. So we have a
Right.
tendency of selling our garbage rather than paying someone to pick our garbage, right? But
True.
I think
True.
what you do is also very important, because having a lot of this wet waste also makes it very challenging for the non-organic waste to be processed and recovered, right? So
Correct.
I think that segregation definitely becomes very, very important. uh, that's very helpful, Amay. But if you were to, let's say, if you were to talk about one thing that all the restaurants could think of to make this whole process much better for themselves and for the overall environment we talk about, right? To find those solution providers like yourself who could help them to manage their garbage problem, the waste problem, as well as to benefit the overall environment. What is that one thing that you would recommend to a restaurant owner?
Personally, I feel that restaurants should not look at having too exhaustive a menu. I would say concise your menu, because the more menu items you have, the more procurement you have, and the more storage you have. Most of the restaurateurs today try to give extremely wide choices in terms of food, and that leads to a lot of wastage. So my humble request generally to everyone I speak to is concise your menu as much as possible you can, rather than having 200, 300 items in your menu. Rather just have 50 items, but have them the best one you can do, and that helps really well in your inventory management. That helps in reducing your dead stock at the restaurant by reducing your procurement cost. It helps in better sales because you have limited products to sell, and that also reduces the wastage in terms of the storage process or the pre-preparation process. To give you very crude example, most of the restaurants will serve Indian, they'll serve Chinese, and they will also serve some continental food. This is the multi-cuisine concept. You have everything from makhni gravy to arrabbiata sauce and to a Manchurian gravy. And when you look at the menu mix or sales mix of a restaurant, any restaurant will tell you that if they have 100 items in the menu, it is only 20-25 items which contribute to 80% of their sales. So if they can only reduce their menu and keep it concise, I think that is going to be a great contributor towards all
So
this.
so do measurement so that you can do the reduction right there, right?
Correct.
Now, beyond restaurants, there is a lot of other kind of food waste that happens. So are there any other such bulk generators of food waste that you are looking into as you establish yourself and you look to scale yourself?
Yes, and these are the institutional catering units, especially in the IT belts of the cities or cities where you have a lot of industries. So to give you example, Hyderabad has extremely high capacity of IT industry, where each building, each company employs 20-30,000 people, and where they have their cafeteria food. Those are another bulk generator areas of food waste. And the second one is industry centric cities. So for example, Pune houses one of the most number of industrial establishments, especially in case of automobile factories. So I've been to the Volkswagen factory in Pune, and they cater to around 20,000 meals per day for their staff. And even if a person is wasting 20 grams per day or 25 grams per day, you can do the math and see how much is being wasted.
And there'll always be a certain slack in terms of number of people who come versus the number of meals that have been prepared, right?
Correct, correct, correct.
And when you talk about such large numbers, even 2 or 3% translates into several hundreds of meals
Yeah,
per day.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very good. I mean, is there anything else that you would want to tell to anyone who's listening to this?
You know, I just want to say that, we are blessed with this beautiful planet, and we should do all, at least we should do our bit to save whatever we can, and keep it running well for generations to come.
Thank you very much, Amay, for sharing this wonderful journey that you have had. I think it's not very usual that we find someone who has been dealing with all the food and then gets so much moved by what is being wasted and then try to do something about that. And this is definitely a big problem that we face, right, as a country and as the world also. But this is something which is a far larger problem in India, which is right in front of
Right,
us, and we
right,
we not many people realize how large this problem is, even though it is visible all over the place, right? Wherever you turn
right,
your eyes, you see this. But when you
right.
start talking about the numbers and when you start talking about those aggregations, then we start realizing what we are talking about. When we say
Absolutely.
that 40% of the total food produced of India gets wasted somewhere in that
Wasted.
value chain,
Yeah, yeah.
wasted, right? And this, as you said, so it is not just about the greenhouse gases at the end of it from that methane, but the amount of water that goes into production of that particular food, in the storage, in the transportation and processing, and
Right.
everything that goes on. And finally, as a chef, when it pains to also see the food being thrown away, this definitely has an impact and it is in front of you. But in fact, some farmer has also worked in production of that food, which is eventually just being thrown away.
Absolutely.
So yes, to have this whole
Absolutely.
circularity and to also find a way that it can go back to where it come from, so that it can be part of that natural cycle. I think this is a great journey that you have undertaken, and all best wishes to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Amay, for this. If you are someone who has useful information on this subject or have success stories that you would like to share, please reach out to me. We need to build a community from all walks of life across the value chain to do our little bit in solving this problem. There are many things that divide us, but planet Earth unites us. Stay tuned for more content on sustainability. Take care and stay safe.